Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, May 30th, 2019. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Obviously, we've had a lower high here. We've come down and pushed through the key range low and closed below it. We are now holding in the overnight session here in a fairly narrow range, about 43% of normal, 16.25 points. This type of day or 2 days here really reminds of what we saw a little bit earlier, where we had that sell-off here followed by a whole day and then 2 strong days down. Now another whole day. Do we get another strong day down? How's this going to play out? Anytime you have a major move like this, there tends to be a digestive day. Bears tend to look to defend prices at or just above the previous day's mid for a shot at continuing this thing downward. Remember, we broke down through the 2800 key range low. It's going to take the market to get back above that high or back above that 2800 level in order to return back toward recent highs here at around 2880, maybe even as high as 2900. Any failure to get above 2800 here suggests that we come down to this level here, which is going to be between 2700 and 2720. So right now, market's very narrow, holding below 2800. Any failure to get above that zone could suggest more weakness ahead in the near term. If we take a look at the NQ, very similar price action here again, down below the key range low here. So you can see we were right at that low over the last few days, broke down through it yesterday, and it is now holding below that zone. This one is trading 35% of normal right now, 45.25 points. It's been averaging about 128 points a day over the last 10 sessions. So again, there is a potential here where we see a trap down here and then we can squeeze back up. But again, we got to let it play out and see if it can reclaim 7,300, or if we get some sort of significant rejection below it, we can then forecast that it may push back above it and again go back toward recent highs here between 76 and 76.50. Otherwise, failing to get back above the 7,300 will suggest more weakness ahead, and 7K may be the next downside target in that case. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Crude oil formed a very nice rejection in the previous session. We're currently seeing a pullback right now after price is failing to hold above the previous session's high. Coming back down, 58s is going to be very, very important here. The previous session we had a pretty good rejection tail that developed here. Price rallied pretty nicely off the 57s, rallied 2 good handles off those levels, and then closed near the highs of the day. Again, there's the midpoint of yesterday's session. After you reject these highs, I wouldn't necessarily want to buy the midpoint on first test, but I do want to see how price responds on this pullback, because if price can hold above 58s, we could be looking at a bounce back play back towards 60 to 61, and perhaps even as high as 64. So this is going to be very interesting to see. Is this a lower low rejection here that can get us back going this way? If not, if price fails to hold 58s by the end of the day, perhaps we sink lower into those 55s. Remember, 55 is that major CLVN, and if we test that level down below, that's going to be a big level for bulls to defend. So we may still be headed down to 55s. 58 is going to be a big time test here. Holding above it could give us a little bit of a bounce. Failing to hold it likely opens up more weakness into 55s. Lastly, taking a look at gold futures here. This one looks as though it's ready to really get a major move. I've said that before, and it hasn't. It's just kind of attempted to move in both directions many times. Recently, this one was a good quick move, and then it failed back down. It's just been back and forth. Very, very painful chop here for the most part. But it's coiling up here. It's getting back toward an apex here where we really can't do much more business in this zone unless it expands the range or sees a move to the edge. So what I'm seeing here is obviously 1270s holding pretty nicely. You can see many bounces off that level, and now you're seeing higher lows here and higher highs. Price continues to chop around the previous month's close, and that's given us a very narrow pivot range for the upcoming month of trading. This could really signal a major breakout coming. If the first trading day of the month on Monday is going to be a huge day up, we could be looking at expansion out of this range. If it's going to be a major day down, perhaps we see a decline. But maybe next Monday we might get directional cues on which way we're going out of this range, and that could be huge. At the moment, 1270 is holding. We could easily see a bounce back up, especially given the way that this thing is starting to see some failed lows. So we'll see how this develops here. Again, still compressing and consolidating around that previous month's close. At some point here, likely very soon, we're about to see a breakout. We'll watch the edges. The 1270 on the downside would be a huge breakdown. And if this thing can get above 1305, that's where it really opens up here, but may not even need that high to start getting going. Above 1280 or 1290 could really trigger the breakout, so we'll see. Alright, that's it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.